How, Patricia, how were you able to move through your fear and self-doubt and move to France all by yourself at the age of 51? This was a question that one of the members of my program asked me this past weekend at our retreat in Marseille, France. And I answered her question again and again, and I thought, that probably would be a good topic for a video. So I'm going to share 4 things that allowed me to move through my fears and self-doubts so that I could start a new life here in France. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are already a subscriber, thank you. If you're new here, welcome. Each week I upload a video about moving abroad, life in France, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms. My name is Patricia Brooks, and in 2018, I left my job in Richmond, Virginia, for a new life in France. And it's been an amazing ride, and I've learned so much about myself and about life. And one of those things is how to do things that scare me. I want to unpack this, giving you 4 things that I did and that you might be able to do as well to help you move through any fears or self-doubts that you have that are holding you back from experiencing the things that you want to. Now, the first thing has to do with getting out of my comfort zone. I came to France for the very first time in 2015, and I visited with a friend because I was afraid to come to France all by myself. I'd gone to Quebec City, Canada, all by myself, and that was fine. But something about flying across the ocean to France by myself scared me. And so when my friend said, "Oh, well, I'd love to go to France with you," I jumped at the chance. And it was great because it allowed me to see that France was a country that I could see myself living in. It also allowed me to see that I needed to make a solo trip to France so that I could experience France the way I wanted to. And so 9 months later, after that first trip, I boarded a plane to visit France all by myself. So the first thing had to do with getting out of my comfort zone and recognizing that I could do this on my own. The second thing that helped me to make this move abroad was my experience that second trip. I had gone to 4 different cities in France all by myself. My language skills were not that good at the time, but yet I had done it. And I remember so vividly that day in Lyon, France. I had been exploring, and it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I had returned to my hotel room, and I sprawled out on the bed because I was exhausted. And I lay there, and I thought to myself, "What's happening to you, Patricia?" And as I started to drift off, the answer came to me, and I heard it loudly and clearly. "You are growing bold." And I sat bolt upright on the bed. I wrote that down, and I knew that was the title of my first book, in which I unpack how I was growing bold, how I grew bold, how I was doing daring things that before I would never have dreamed of, even a year earlier. So that second thing was the awareness that, my identity is shifting into the kind of person who does bold or daring things. And it was this kind of out-of-body experience because I saw myself on the bed and I heard the words, "You're growing bold." And I thought, yeah, but you're not a bold person. But that awareness was the second thing. The third thing had to do with my getting sick and tired of the status quo of my life. I'd taken this wonderful 2-week trip to France. And when I returned to work, on that first day of work, after about 4 hours, it felt like I'd not been on vacation. And I got pulled into the grind. And over the course of the next 8 or 12 months, I really felt downtrodden. And I was starting to get sick and tired of having to go into this job that I didn't like and not already living in France. I was starting to feel the pressure and the change in the environment in the United States and how it was becoming less and less friendly to me as a woman of color. And so this started to help me to get sick and tired of the status quo. Now, I had this dream to move abroad, but I wasn't doing anything about it because I didn't believe that I could do it. I didn't see myself as the kind of person who moved abroad. And so I stayed stuck until I got sick and tired. And that was when I signed up to have some sessions with a life coach to help me get unstuck so that I could finally get to France. And during that first session with her, she asked me a very important question, a question I had not answered because I was afraid to look and do the research. And the question was, how much would it cost for you to go to France on a visitor visa? How much would you need to show the French government that you had so that you could support yourself? And I didn't know the answer to that. So she sent me away after that first session saying, that's your first assignment. Next week, come back with the answer to that. And I did. And I was afraid to look at it because I thought that if I found out I didn't have enough, that I would never get to France, which was really unrealistic because you can always earn more money, save more money. But in my mind at that time, that's how I saw it. But when I looked, I was delighted because I had more than enough to get to France for a few years. And so that took my foot off the brake and put it on the gas. That was the thing that got me unstuck. So the third thing was getting sick and tired and getting help. And then the fourth thing that allowed me to move through my fears and doubts was listening to and following my intuition. Moving to France was a compulsion for me. It was not anything that was logical, but I had to get to France. I had to learn to speak French. And I had to have experiences that were in store for me there. I didn't know what those were, but I knew that I had to. And this compulsion was fueled by my intuition. And it had me doing the work to get to France. It had me not thinking about the what ifs, this happens or that happens. And it had me getting work done. And so listening to and following my intuition was huge. About 3 months before I moved to France, when I received my visitor visa, my identity had shifted into the kind of person who moves abroad, right? From a person who was afraid to go to France by herself back in 2015 until November of 2016, my identity shifted little by little. And it's a process. But the process all starts with taking steps, doing things that scare you, big or small, moving through those so that your identity shifts little by little. Now, this is what I shared with the member of my program. And at the end of the story, I had to tell her, but you're doing this. This is something that you are already in the process of doing. Because back in January of this year, she had a call with me and she signed up for my program. That was something that scared her, but she stepped out of her comfort zone. She didn't necessarily have a full belief that she would ever live abroad, but there was something that told her she needed to sign up for this program. Then when I announced we were going to have a Marseille meetup, she decided that that was something that she needed to attend, even though it scared the wits out of her. She wanted to meet these people she'd been seeing on Zoom every week in person. She said she's not a Zoom person. I really wanted to meet these women in person. And so she mustered up the courage to buy her ticket. She mustered up her courage to get on that plane. She mustered up her courage to find her way from the Marseille airport to the hotel in downtown Marseille. And at the end of that, she was sharing with us all how proud of herself she was. She also shared with me that she was wondering what was happening to her. Who was this person doing this strange and daring thing? Similar to my experience in Lyon, France. She's doing it. That was like the second thing that she stepped out of her comfort zone to do. And caused her to see things differently, see herself differently, see her possibilities differently. By the end of the weekend, she shared with me that she could see herself actually spending a year living in a foreign country. And perhaps that foreign country might be France. Back in January, when she signed up for the program, that was not what she was saying. 2 months ago, on Zoom calls, that was not what she was saying. But just last weekend, that is where she was, right? So she's going through that process as well. Her identity is shifting into the kind of person who moves abroad. Now, to put an end to my story, before I moved abroad, 3 months before I moved abroad, I saw myself as the kind of person who moves abroad. 6 years into this journey, I see myself as the kind of person who moves abroad confidently and sustainably. It's a powerful thing to step out of your comfort zone, take small steps toward your goal. And in the process of having successes and maybe even sometimes failures, but then moving through that, you can become the kind of person who does the thing that you want to do. It's powerful. If you have a dream of living abroad, but have some fears, some doubts, some hesitations, maybe you're not even sure about how to go about doing it, I would love to have a conversation with you. So check out the link to my calendar in the description where you can sign up for a discovery call, and we can talk about where it is you want to go and why you want to get there and what things cause you to say, well, what if this or what if that? And then we can see if our working together is something that could help you move through that. And I so look forward to having that conversation. Now, hopefully you found this video insightful, enlightening. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.